for hundreds of years without any MUBEC standards.
Yeah,
So
not anymore, not in Pittsfield.
So every town around us, because our population is, their populations are lower, they don't have to have MUBEC, so we can't even compete, you know, for pricing on houses.
No, but that's what started me getting
Nobody's
interested to see what was
building
going on.
anything here.
My
I got
garage,
friends with land and they're
my
like,
garage cost me about
Nope.
double what
Yeah.
it should have.
I know.
And I get a
so
lot
it's,
of it. So.
it is.
Yep.
I mean, your roommate, he's like, I just want to get across the line into Burnham.
Yeah, he bought a piece of Burnham.
Did he?
Yeah.
He finally, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, you could go over there and pretty much do what you want. All right.
Detroit's like, they
Yeah.
don't
I know.
inspections.
Detroit's even easier, I think, yeah.
They must have at least a couple of pieces of paper about the permits and stuff. But
We
other
have to
than
have septic and plumbing, but that's it.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right, so let's get started. It's Thursday, February 20th. This is the Ordinance Committee meeting. We're here in the Town Council chambers. So old business. We have a municipal ban on pesticide application. I don't know if we want to pass this one over. I dug around in my computer and I could not find the
Information.
materials from last year's meeting, so I need to go online and pull those off again. I thought I had sent them in an email and I apparently just made copies. So I don't know if we want to pass that one over for tonight and deal with it next meeting. And then also maybe we can,
So if somebody had copies that you gave out on the ordinance committee, you remember that's when I was in the hospital, so I didn't attend. So
Yeah.
I don't have the copies, but if somebody who was on the ordinance committee at that time has the
it
copies.
would have only been Matt if you have still have copies of
I don't
them.
think so.
Probably not. I cleaned my office and I tried to purge things, so I
I
still
got
need to do a little
same
more.
copies, it's just a matter of what I did.
Yeah, yeah. I think I have copies of them somewhere, but I know it was South Portland, because I talked to Julie Rosenthal, for South Portland, and I think Yarmouth, or either Yarmouth or the town next to it, not
Yeah,
Bridgeport.
the whole area down there.
Yeah, there was
Brunswick.
two, and Rockland I think also
Yeah.
has one. So I'll go online and pull those off if we don't mind, passing that over to the next meeting, or tabling it.
And I figured you probably haven't had time to do it, but if we keep the items on the list, then we don't lose them if
Yeah.
they drop off.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. So that brings us to Chapter 2, Administrative Code, Departments, Public Works, Transportation, and Recycling.
So we have been through the code book and we have found a number of items in several codes for the names that would have to be changed once we do that.
Yeah.
And so we're going to give it another thorough look, and then we'll bring that into the next meeting.
And there was a bunch of that was in also the sewer water.
Yes.
Now, can that be just changed separate? Should we wait until change that after we get all the sewer water stuff sorted out, or?
The water terms and conditions are being reviewed by Oliver Associates as part of our monthly contract time. And so they've done a lot of work on that, so that will be good. So that's part of the overall fee that we pay anyway. The sewer, well, unfortunately, this will tie into C, we did ask for a cost to have the old 1976 sewer ordinance gone through to bring it up to date, including pre-treatment. And the price that we were given was so far, so expensive that we'll have to do it ourselves. It was $3,800, and we're not paying that. That's a third of our legal bill. And so I was told that sewer ordinances are very technical and our facility is totally different, so we have to make sure that we do things right. But what I'm thinking we can do is we can take from the sewer ordinances that we collected copies on, the reasonably sized ones. There were some that were over 100 pages long, which I didn't pass out. I passed out the smaller ones, which were 20 to 30. We can go through and create one, and then get it in the best order that we can, and then give it to all of our associates and have them look it over for a price that is set to not exceed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that will work out good. I wouldn't send it to the town attorney because they're not experts on sewer and lagoons and everything. I mean, sewer pre-treatment. All of our associates is, but this way we'll rein in the costs and have a more efficient setup. And plus, Chris is already looking, our plant manager is already looking at the ordinances, and I'm looking at the ordinances, and he's got ideas, and I have ideas, so we'll put something together. That one may take us longer than the next meeting, though.
Okay. Yeah, that seemed like it was going to be a bigger
It's a big
project.
project, yes.
Okay. So, so is that all we need to do about the sewer ordinance? We kind of went right into that.
Yes, we did go right into
Okay.
that. So we'll bring back the Chapter 2 Administrative Code and all the other little sections that we need in the different ordinances to the next meeting on those departments and the changing of the names and everything. The sewer ordinance will have to be tabled and come up when we get a version together that looks good, and we'll bring that into you when we give it to all of our associates.
Okay.
And then, did you want to skip down, because the social media one might take a while. Do you want to skip down to the recreation?
Yeah, let's go through that one. And
Because we
then-
have an ordinance at the ordinance committee meeting.
Okay, so we'll hold off on the reviewing the planning board stuff and the
Yes.
social media, and we'll go down to number 3, new business, other ordinances and/or ordinance amendments, chapter 2 administrative code, multiple sections addressing recreation type committees under division 2 and division 3. And we're going to review a draft of a restructuring plan that Ben Hall, a citizen, submitted to the committee to consider. Basically looking at all of the parks and recreation type committees that we have and looking at combining them into one committee that can operate a little more effectively across the board and kind of more cohesively, I think. And also kind of to make the best use of volunteers that are serving on these boards in a way that we can have a little more attention to the different aspects of it too, I think. So currently we have a Parks and Recreation Committee, which jointly acts as the Manson Park Trust Committee. We have a Pool Committee, the Pinnacle Park Committee, the Pinnacle Parks Skate Rink Committee, which was just established. I thought we had another one in there. And then the actual, Parks and Rec was the first one. So there's 4 committees.
And outside of that, we have the Pinnacle Ski Club too, that's somewhat involved.
Maybe it would be a good idea if we do have like one committee formed that we designate a seat on that committee for ski club representation, since they're not technically a town committee, they're a private club, but in order to have their input on management of the parks, because Pinnacle Park is one of the places that would fall under their purview, or no?
We could do that, or we could set up so that there's a liaison to them, so that they were always contacted and invited to the meetings. So we can do either.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the, kind of the way we wrote it up was, we would kind of assign primary liaisons with different entities and different groups and parties and stuff.
Yeah. And Ben, you're sitting on the Parks and Rec committee now, right?
I'm on the Pinnacle Park
Pinnacle Park Committee.
and the skate committee, I think.
Which is an ad hoc one.
Right.
Yeah.
To get the project going.
Mm-hmm.
So I will note that we did talk about this very, very informally back when the town worked with all of the volunteers that were running the different sports programs before we actually set up a recreation program. Just very, very briefly, and then nobody was ready for it at that time. And then at that time, we did take over all the different little sports programs because they were all run by volunteers under what used to be a 501c3, and then there were separate groups, and everybody had their own pots of money and everything. So everything got transferred over to the town. And that was back over 10 years ago now. But we didn't proceed forward with the boards.
Right. So just looking at the list of people that are currently serving, there's 12 individual people, because some people are serving on more than one committee. And then there's a couple open seats, like on the pool committee. So I guess we would need to think about, well, first we need to decide whether we think this would be a good idea. Personally, I think it would be.
Absolutely.
Make the most of all
Yeah.
the limited resources and people that we have.
I think it'd be a good excuse for people to get together a little more often.
More frequently.
That was
Yeah.
one of the big points was if you've had kids come through the sports and stuff like that, it is difficult when you don't have a regular meeting for the Parks and Rec Committee. If you have concerns or ideas or issues, and the fellows that meet down at the park a couple times a year, right, they do an awesome job taking care of the park and doing that. They'll be the first to tell you they're not really interested in the rec side of it, and they're kind of, I don't know whether they were asked to take that on or kind of just happened. I don't know, maybe you know more about it, but my discussions with them, they'd be very happy to just go back to being a Manson Park Committee.
Mhm.
That was part of their overall duties, and back in the 1990s, there was a big argument that took place, and then when I arrived, I of course looked at the parks and said, oh my goodness, I'll go talk and get the Parks and Recreation Committee going, and then we'll fix up the parks, and then I was informed that they only take care of Manson Park.
And with each of these committees, right, there's ebbs and flows of needs and focus, right? And with a consolidated committee, you can kind of push those resources to the areas that need them when they need them,
Right.
while not,
And keep a little better eye on things too, when there's
Yeah.
routine talk of different areas, you tends to be more up on
Right.
things rather than crisis mode, this is leaking, that's leaking, this is broken type.
absolutely, yeah.
Um, What do you think, Pete?
I think some of them should definitely be combined.
So how would we handle, we have 12 people,
Yeah.
how would we handle that consolidation? Like, do we just kick 5 people and make it a 7-person, or like have alternates, or how's that work?
I have talked to everybody that's sitting on a committee now on that list, with the exception of a couple folks on the Manson Park Committee, which I talked to Paul and Bertrand, and he assured me that he talked to each of them, let them know what we were proposing, and they were all in support of it. Then I asked, are any of them would any of them be interested in taking a seat on it? I'd want to hear directly from them if I were
Right.
the town, but his indication was maybe we'll tab one of us to take a seat on it if you feel it's appropriate, but I don't think that all 5 would want to step in and take seats.
Gotcha.
Just from that time
Yeah,
limitation.
and if you look, some of them are picked, like my wife and I are both on one, Kyle Holmstrom and his fiancee Lindsay are both on some. We all talked that one of us would probably step forward and the other would step back.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would be an issue, but that's something you do on that.
Well, if there's 4 committees, one, two, three, 4. Yeah, there's 4 committees now, plus the ski club. And how big a committee would be a functional committee?
7 is.
I think we
7?
proposed 7, I think is what we proposed.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, with 4 primary areas, some would maybe, like the rec sports stuff, maybe, 2 people of that kind of be their focus area. One or 2 focus on the Pinnacle Park, 1 focus on the other parks. And we want to bring in, I don't think we do a lot with, the senior citizens and their recreational activities and things like that. Maybe we do some, right, but bringing that into it as well and what activities we do there. So maybe you reach out to somebody like a Jane Woodruff or somebody like that does a lot non-sports related with the town.
Yeah.
And bring the arts side of it, I guess you're kind of spitballing here, but.
I was thinking like 9 people, because then if you had 2 people from each kind of interest area of the existing committees, and then a person from the ski club, and would the rec director also be a member of this committee,
No.
or are they at the direction of the committee?
Staff-
Kind of like the
staff
theater
person.
director to the theater committee.
Staff person for
So
the
they're a staff
committee,
person
yes.
for the committee. Okay.
So if you look at the membership of the first 3, which are regular committees, there is duplication.
Mm-hmm.
And we do believe that one person will be stepping away. So, and there's some open seats that we haven't really advertised a lot for. We just listed them but didn't seek people knowing that we may combine this. So I think that if we just contact everyone for 7 members and then see what happens. And you've got your Pinnacle Skate Rink Committee, of which somebody would want to, be on there. So I think that, the membership may come out fine, or it may be, one person or 2 might not get on.
Right.
But I think that you probably will be able to get enough from each so that people don't feel left out.
Yeah.
The number, just for, like, where we come up with the 7 was just that. We thought between ski and skate, we thought 2 people kind of be a focus area on the Pinnacle piece of it, liaise with the ski committee, the ski club, and the skate side of it. 2 focus on recreational sports and activities. 2 focus on just the parks themselves, liaising with Manson Park, Hathorne Park, the other miscellaneous parks around town, and 1 being the primary, knowing there's not a lot going on regularly there with the pool. That's kind of where the number came from, just a little background.
I think 7's usually like a standard committee.
Seven's good.
I just think if you get 2, like, you gotta have a good amount of people to represent all of the different portions of this
Right.
committee, but you don't wanna get so many people that it's like,
It's hard to make decisions.
yeah, and then you know how it is, like, getting everybody's schedules,
Right. Well, that's, the 9 is why I was thinking schedule-wise, because people that tend to be involved in committees like this tend to have children in the schools, and that can, if you have children in multiple schools, it can pull you in 10 different directions, and they might not be able to make it to meetings, or, and that would give people some flexibility.
The people on there would be your coaches and your
Right.
your athletic or ski or skate participants. That would be
Yeah.
evening practice and stuff. So
And if you wanted
coordination
to-
of the meetings will be tough.
Yeah, and then if you wanted to incorporate someone that would represent like a senior group and maybe even a youth member, to try and get like a youth member from the high school or something like that to participate, then maybe that could be like an alternate type thing, or an advisory position
You
for
can make
something
them
like that.
advisors or associates.
It's like a 7-member and then 2 advisors, and try and recruit a high school student and a senior
interesting
that could
Mm-hmm.
kind of give different perspectives
Yeah,
about
I've seen
programming
those,
and.
seen those groups before. It works out really well. It's hard to get a meeting time for any group now, so this would just be another one that you'd have to coordinate, quite well on.
I like that, bring a youth in, right? Rec sports, rec activities tends to miss that preteen to teen group, right? It has to be focused on the 6 to 11, 12-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
focus on our teenage population and stuff for them would be good too.
Yeah. And MCI has a service requirement too, so, serving on a town committee and participating in some of the, the group activities, as well as, supporting the program and stuff, could also be
Yeah, and one of the,
service for that.
one of the big pieces would be liaising with MCI and the
Yeah.
schools on their facilities and utilization of facilities and stuff like that, so
Yeah.
it might be assist with that.
So Catherine, does that sound good to everybody as far as the structure of the committee, to have 7 members, 2 focused on rec sports, 2 focused on the parks, 1 pool focused, 1 skate, 1 ski, or typically,
Yeah, Are you thinking I would leave it loose, like it's gonna ebb and flow.
Like
I wouldn't,
general-
like document
Yeah.
Right.
who's sitting on what part.
No.
Okay.
I like how you kind of thought about how to incorporate all those different
Think of
parts and
workload
pieces.
on what could be.
Yeah,
workload,
and
right.
have different perspectives for that. But just 7 plus 2 advisors, and where would, I had another thought and then it just left my head. There's something else involved with the youth advisor, senior advisor.
Talked about the Pinnacle Ski Club.
The club, yeah, the ski club. Would that also be like?
The only thing that came to my mind with that is, that's one club. say there's a hockey club gets formed and do
Yeah.
something, and then there's a mountain biking club that starts to set something up, and you're gonna have to loop every club that uses
Yeah.
their facilities in. I don't know.
I think that somebody liaisons with them so they can come to the meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's like an officer of the committee would be in charge of making sure that other interests are informed about what's going on.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
whatnot.
So just so I understand what's being proposed, so right now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's like 5, and what's the proposal to go to?
One committee,
Just one big committee?
and I don't know if we just keep the name Parks and Recreation Committee, because it kind of encompasses everything.
I think there's 4 right now, I think. Unless I'm-
Well, it's with the Pinnacle
If you-
Ski Club
If
committee.
you count.
Well, they're
The club's not a
group anyway,
committee,
they're gonna stay a
though.
group.
Yeah,
And the skate rink one is an ad hoc one that was temporary, it was really for construction. And you're still gonna have your Manson Park Trust Committee, I'm going with the wrong name, I know, but, so, you're still gonna have a few different groups, but the pool, Pinnacle Park, and your rec sports and rec activities are really gonna be consolidated.
those are
Right.
The
Those are the main
responsibilities will be
three.
what we're
Okay.
combining.
Yeah.
I think I would keep it Parks and Recreation Committee, because that
It makes
is what
sense.
it is.
I mean, it tells you what it is.
Mhm.
And the other ones are just subsets of that, really. Okay, so the proposal to the council for, now, we're thinking 7 members of the committee with 2 advisors, a youth and a senior advisor. And we need to conglomerate all the descriptions of these into one committee now?
So what we can do, from the excerpts that I put together for you from the code, the committees were all talked about in different sections of chapter 2, and then there was some duplication in there. So I made copies of each of the individual committees, and so on your first page you got your Parks and Recreation Committee, and that was in with all of the recreation parks items. So I copied that over so you would see that. And then on page 3,
You guys are both looking at, are you guys looking at the one with the blacked out pieces?
no, I was looking at,
Oh, I think Matt was.
Yeah.
There's 2 different things there.
yeah,
I just want to make sure.
yeah, okay.
There's one, like, proposed thing I threw out there just
Oh,
to
yeah,
start.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had taken-
the next page, I think, there, a couple pages that, where I highlight, yeah, exactly.
I had taken chapter 2 and then took excerpts of each of the sections dealing with the current committees and put them all in one document. So we've got that for reference. And so those sections would all need to be combined under the Recreation Committee. Parks
And that's what I took a pass at doing, like you said, reducing the redundancy a little
Yeah,
bit.
That's
I'm also-
easier.
That's
You
that
kind of already
document,
did
yeah.
it.
I tried,
I like
I'm not
It's
a
already
ordinance
started.
writer, but by any
So
means.
this is the original verbiage from the code book. And some of this is just like establishing the parks, the individual
Yes,
parks
yeah,
on
which
some
would
of
stay
it.
with that.
Right, that would still stay part of it, because that's like the definition of the parks. Now, this also has, we have a Parks and Recreation Board, is that the same as the committee?
That's why I
Parks
highlighted
and
board and
Rec
committee, because I was
committee.
very confused by that.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a lot of confusing things in our code book. This says there shall be a Parks and Recreation Committee, and then there shall be a Parks and Recreation Board.
Yeah, and it refers to the section where the Parks and Recreation Committee is, so it's the same thing. It's just that when they put this together, back in, I would say, the 70s, they updated their documents
Mhm.
into the 80s, and then at some point, somebody wrote board instead of committee.
Yeah, and it has the wrong, it says section 900, it's actually
Right, which
section
doesn't
800.
exist, yeah.
There's a lot of little quirky things like that in the code book.
There's more than you want to know about.
Yeah, like I said, I took a pass at, if nothing else, maybe the intent of what we're thinking that committee would look like and function as. And there was like some responsibilities I wrote there too, that I would definitely want you guys to rewrite or make your own and review, right?
Oh, you did a very, very good job. I only had a couple of comments that we talked about.
Yeah, the version you have should have those tweaks in it
Okay,
that we
great.
discussed, I believe.
This one here?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Okay.
I sent a second version over, I think it
So do
was.
we all wanna make sure we're looking at Exhibit B, draft of restructuring, park plans, 2 little black blocks at the top, so we're all looking at the same thing? So I've got, wait a minute. Okay, did you have comments on this, or had they already been incorporated?
I only had a couple of just minor comments.
Yeah, I did make it, but you want to verify that's the right version, because I did send it 2 different times.
Yeah.
It was a one sentence, you want tweaks to it.
Yes, yes. Yeah, very good, thank you.
And is Manson Park Trust Committee the correct verbiage for that, or is it the Manson Park Trustees?
Manson Park Trustee.
It is
Okay.
trustees.
Yeah, we'll go through that. There's lots of different little names here and there.
So this would be starting out as a new committee, so these would all be new appointments, so 3 members would be 3 years, 2 for 2, 2 for 1. And then the recurring appointments afterwards. Report annually. Do we have a current standards of use policy for any of the parks?
Are we talking about the rentals or the actual use of the park, or just what goes on daily?
All of the above, probably.
All the above, yeah. Like, the committee shall develop and maintain a standards of use policy for each of the major town parks owned. I'm just wondering if we already have a document like that. I mean, I know we have some rules and regulations in the code book.
We have very minimal. I
Mhm.
mean, we've always been very informal in the parks. We haven't run into, with the exception of one item, we haven't run into, in any of the smaller parks, any controversies regarding the different activities that were taking place at the same time.
Yeah.
We only had one conflict. Because we can have people using the gazebo at Hawthorne Park. They were there filming. You have a game going on, then you had a picnic going on. We haven't had any conflicts with the exception of one item. So we don't have a formal facility use document for the parks because we tried to run them informally. I've had those use documents for buildings before, and it just gets so complex when you want to do something and help somebody, it doesn't quite fit into the category. So so far, we've done very well, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't write something up.
Right.
I don't know if I copied that or wrote it myself. And I think the intent was some general guidelines, whether it's maintaining existing ones or, you know, we're not gonna light fires in the park, or I have bonfires and smoking and drinking and.
Well, there's
Pick
some
up
of
your dog-
that.
pick up your
Lansing
dog
Park
poop and
has
stuff
some
like
of
that.
that. Yeah, Lansing Park has some of that, or Manson Park has
I know
some of
Manson
that
Park does, you know.
in there.
Yeah, we've got a section on the children not being out after 10, so that seems to have done well for the police to move people along.
Yeah, that's the intent of all of it, right? Just, if there is an issue, you have something to fall back on to reference and say, you know, there's a.
Well, even in just standards of use policy, it could be just, you know, behave yourself, be nice to other people in the park, you know, that type of
exactly.
thing. You know, a lot of parks will have rules posted at the gates or something like that. Like a lot of ballparks will have like rules of the game type thing, that type of, I would consider that as being like standards of use, you know.
Yeah.
Don't yell and scream at the umpires and, you know, leaving sports and that type of thing would be like standards of use for a ballpark. So.
I will say, we have learned something new about having your little bonfires. Under our insurance policy, if it is for, and established activity that's taking place that needs the fire, that's in a certain type of grate, we can approve it. This took place with a religious activity in which they wanted the fire for that at one of the parks. So it took us a while to get this all worked out with the insurance company, but they gave us rules, and the little group, they were very, they were very accommodating, and they took care of everything.
Nice.
That was something I never thought that we would approve.
So this proposal actually addresses the committee itself and its organization, and then the parks, the pool, funding sources.
So under our regulations, we wouldn't actually have committees overseeing the staff, because we did have that in one case and it didn't work out that well, which we're dealing with now. But we can certainly have the committees work with the staff, and the staff be required to go to the committee's meetings, which is then how it all works together.
Yeah.
So I can help put some language in for that.
Okay.
I think there's a few notes off to the right that obviously didn't print that
Yeah.
I was unsure how that all worked.
So that would be more like an advisory role
Yeah.
or supporting.
Yeah, I
The
think
committee can provide support to the staff.
we were talking
And
about
vice
director
versa.
and pool director probably the two.
Yeah.
So has this document been presented to those other committees to make comments, or have they not seen this?
I mean, I reviewed it, obviously, I wrote it. The Pinnacle Park Committee is, the active committee is Jim, Chinquette, myself. Jim's seen it. The rest of the skate committee has seen it. Paul Bertrand, I gave him a copy of it. He reviewed it. He says he discussed it with the other folks there. And it kind of, that's really where the idea originated was, hey, you guys should combine some of these other committees and leave us alone and let us get this park cleaned up, and it's a good idea.
So Pete, what we would do, once we make a few little language changes, we would send this to, or tell the people it's all there, send it by
Make sure
email
everybody's
to all the committees.
All on board with it?
Yeah, that would be verified that they've all seen it, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're not including the ski club then? We're just gonna.
No.
Okay, we're gonna
Yeah.
do 4. Okay.
I think that they would be invited to all the meetings so they could have input. Sort of like when the Egg Festival Committee meets and they're working on some different projects with people, they invite the other committees or groups that want us to come.
Yeah, we had our first Pinnacle Park meeting the other night, which a couple of you guys were there. It was the first one in a long time, and the ski club was there. And
It was a good meeting. I mean, I thought it was really, the three, the Pinnacle Park, the skate rink people, and the Pinnacle Ski Club, everybody has common interest at making sure that things are working, and you found a lot of ways that you can work together, and, the skate people need certain types of walkways, and the ski people need this, and, so it's nice to have the different committees be able, or groups be able to, hear each other's needs
Yeah.
and wants and whatnot.
Yep.
The funds part, are there currently separate funding sources now for the different committees that are gonna have to be put together?
So we have a recreation budget, and that budget has a category that is a large amount of money spent for the chemicals and the electricity bill for the swimming pool. So the swimming pool's monies come through the regular budget. The Manson Park, of course, is totally separate. They have their own trust. The Parks and Recreation part has some funds in the recreation budget, and what we don't have available in there, we use the a little buildings and grounds account that is with the highway department. So it's divided up between those two. For the Pinnacle Park there actually is a savings account which originated with the sale of gravel many, many years ago at the facility. And so those monies were to be put away forever for the use of the Pinnacle and what we needed. So that had a healthy balance, which helped when in the 2000s the roof needed work. So that was a big project. And so we have approximately $7,000 left in there.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the funds piece of it was literally intent was obviously, you know, everything going through Catherine's office stuff, you got a lot of numbers you gotta deal with.
Right.
Literally just looking at equipment and things like that, like a lot of the equipment, a lot of things are pretty shabby, but understanding what we are bringing in for funds from registration fees and things like that, and prioritizing, you know, if we're buying a new set of catcher gear for the Little League this year, one for each grade, or we're gonna, you know, make an enhancement over at Apple, you know, things like that, just understanding what the funds coming in and out are, and what's costing us money, and probably working with the office or the council, whatever it might be, on fees and stuff like that, like, you know, if we're charging too much, or if a fee needs to go up for a little bit on this particular sport, or what it might be.
Well, the council has to approve the fees, but like the pool
fee
committee
changes.
have recommendations. Just like Donnie came in and had his recommendations for that department the other day.
The pool committee
Yeah.
should have had recommendations.
Yes. But I like the idea of having a committee look at all the different items and then, you know, help build the budget and make recommendations
Exactly.
to the council about
Yeah.
what should be in there. And if they see issues, you know, to be able to kind of be able to keep a better eye on things. And,
So
make
this
those
is where the
recommendations.
committee could be extremely helpful. Currently on the sports part, we have enterprise funds set up, and so these are accounts which the fees support your activities, and you can't spend more than what you have, like the water sewer. So each of the sports activities, like the spring sports, which is all of the outside items with baseball and softball and the other types of activities. They also have the basketball, the football, and then we have the swimming program. So we've got 4 seasons of activities with multiple accounts. The only one that's paid for through the regular budget would be the summer account of the summer, which is the swimming pool and then the arts and crafts and all the little items that we might have, soccer or basketball. Depends on what we're doing that year. So all the rest of the items are through the enterprise accounts. So the fees that we have work well to take care of. Soccer always does really well and has a balance. The spring sports will be okay. The basketball is okay. The football is just an issue because of the cost of the equipment, the condition of the equipment. So it usually can't spend much money or has to be rescued by fundraisers or MCI boosters, other groups, or if we're doing well in the recreation concession account, we'll use money from that.
Mhm.
And so that recreation has concessions, and the expenditures and revenues go together at the end of the year, and that usually has a good balance. Part of it funds the budget for recreation. There's a transfer there to pay for the time of the staff, because the staff is not only running around working on the summer programs, they're working on all these winter programs and other activities. So the recreation concessions from the sale of items has a certain allocation that's used as a revenue source for the town budget, and the rest is used for items that are needed to be purchased to help out, like football, if they run into an issue because of the helmets are, you know, they have too many helmets that aren't in good shape, and they need to fix that, and fundraisers don't take care of it. Once in a while there'll be requests. I think we set up the wrestling program, and so we put some money toward that, and put some money toward the MCI, one of the MCI activities, and then toward one of the Warsaw activities, because the children were all from the recreation program going over there and maybe using mats and things like 10% or 20% of the time. So there are sufficient funds for almost all the sports programs except for football.
I think you'll see some of the people that will step forward now, some of the people on your existing committees are, you know, extensive background with fundraising and things like that. If you've seen anything from the skate thing, right? They raised
Right.
good amount of money pretty quick, so we got something that'll be good, they'll be energetic and forward thinking.
Great, no, that would be excellent. And the second item that would be helpful on is the staff, we have basically, I think everybody realizes this, we have a part-time person that does a full-time job in the recreation area. It would be hard to not say that they shouldn't be working a lot more than they do, and they actually probably do work more than they should. So we're running all these programs, which really should be a full-time position that we can't afford with a part-time person. So they can't spend the time building items that would be helpful, like a little capital improvement plan. And this is where if we had a plan on what we're going to do in our different sports areas and what we need in certain years, I can write the foundation and the grants to the banks to get some money for the program. But we need somebody with a sports background to put that together, and then I can write it from the information that they have. So there's been a few opportunities where we could have got equipment and supplies if we had an organized a plan of action, basically.
That sounds like
That's
something
something
that this committee could come up
Absolutely.
with. And that falls right in with the part that, about coming up with an action plan and, other recommendations to the council about budgeting, and that would be right in there with that. Developing budgets for the coming year for programming, program content, scheduling, logistics, fees, all that falls into doing that. You know, you kind of have to have all of that in place to know what your needs are going to be. You got to build your schedule first and then figure out what your needs are going to be.
Maintenance
what
plans,
they're gonna
capital improvement plans, all that stuff would be.
Yeah.
Because
And
like-
even just, you know, keeping an inventory of equipment so you know what's on hand and that type of thing,
Yeah.
you know, would be really helpful. And it sounds like having a committee that's more concerted would be also be able to help the rec director do some of the things, you know, that she doesn't have time to do because she's doing on the schedule.
No.
Communications piece, right? One person
Yeah.
can only communicate so much, but helping with the communications, working through obviously the council's policies and stuff like that. But prepping communication and maintaining some of that stuff.
Okay.
I think we'd overall do good now, only in, because we do, but I also saw it before the town took over all the sports programs, and you know, we had a gentleman that tried so hard. He spent almost 40 hours a week trying to coordinate all these little volunteer groups, and you would never know which one was doing what, and the parents were coming in asking questions, and we didn't have any information. So, you know, now we've got organized 4 areas of sports, but we don't have anything else with that, and that's where the committee could be a big help.
Absolutely, there's lots of ideas with it.
So, is the ordinance committee in favor of having Catherine or the town office look through this and make those small changes that were referred to as far as the phrases and the names of the committees, and then have final language to approve at our next meeting?
Yes. Yeah.
That should be sufficient time.
Okay. Well, we haven't set our next meeting, so we can.
Well, unless it's
We
next
haven't even
week.
much
It's
time to
tomorrow.
meet.
I figure it'll probably be 2 weeks.
All right, so that'll move forward with 7 members, 2 advisors, 1 for youth, 1 for senior, and then Catherine and the office will work through all the behind-the-scenes type nitty-gritty things that need to be straightened out within the admin code.
Yeah, we'll put the code language in and insert it, and we'll, anything we do as a change, I'll think about this, we'll have to do the changes in a certain, the italics, underline for all of this. But if we make any other changes, we'll fix it so you can tell what we changed from this too.
And logistics on this, if the committee approves the language, do we have to hold it in committee until we have other items? Because I know we don't want to take these piecemeal and have public hearing after public hearing because of the noticing process. So do we hold them in committee, or do we put them to the council and have the council approve it pending setting a date for a public hearing for an item.
Yeah, let's see what else we can put with it. If we don't have anything else to put with it, we can go forward, because this one needs to get organized.
Get it
for
figured
the
out for
spring.
a year.
Yeah, and summer.
Okay. Alright, so that's that. Thank you, Ben, for putting all that together. It's something we had talked
Just an
about.
idea on timeline, is something that we think will be, if it goes through, be by this late spring, summer, would we
Let's
ready to
see.
get together and start putting things together for fall sports?
If we have another meeting in 2 weeks, then that'll be the middle of March. If we approve it, then we send it to the council, which would be at the earliest, the last meeting in March.
Yes.
Public hearing would be the first week,
Yes.
first meeting in May.
Yeah. Well, let's say we're here
30
now
days,
on the
like June.
on the 20th, and you would either have a meeting probably the 5th or the 12th, and then you would get the item to the council, hopefully on the 17th. They would set it to public hearing on the 7th, and technically there's 30 days after that. However, you would start organizing
Yeah.
after the
And
7th.
if it did go forth, as far as, would it just be open for applications to be appointed to the committee, or how would you fill the
Yeah,
committee?
I
Would
think
I
you-
that-
think that's what you have to do.
We're gonna have to do applications, but
Okay.
again, if everybody on that committee can apply, but you'll have other, you might have a few other people.
Absolutely, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. If there is conflict, if there's too many people that apply, how does the council, I'm just curious.
If they're new
Select who,
applicants,
or
yeah, if they're new applicants,
not typically a problem?
yeah, we have a new form for people who haven't applied for the committees before, so that will give us background information on those individuals. Let's say you had 15 people came in, we'd have to do interviews, you know, and meet with them, and maybe just one after another, you know, for a few minutes. But likely you're probably gonna get about the number, you know, that you need. You might get 9, let's say, and then you can choose amongst the individuals
Yeah.
Yeah.
based upon their qualifications, background, and everything.
Personally, I would be tipped towards people that are already serving on those committees, that are familiar with the facilities,
I would
and,
think we.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for more people participating and coming in and doing that, but to set up a new committee, it would be really helpful to have people that are serving on those existing committees already be participating in that process.
Absolutely.
So if we did, let's say we got 3 other people that looked really good, they didn't get on, whoever they were, we would offer them other positions on other committees, is what we normally do. What
Or
we used to
one-
do when we had a lot of applicants, you know, until, I would say 3 years ago, we would have too many applicants, and now we're just like all the other towns. So what we used to do is we would say, you know, you had a good application, but you didn't get appointed. We do have some other vacancies. Would you be interested in X, Y, and Z? And then you can reapply for the ones that you'd like, or you might like these. And 9 out of 10 times, the people will go on another committee.
You didn't get Parks and Rec, but you can be on ethics. Smooth transition. Okay, very good. Any questions for me?
No, very good.
I would love to stick around for the rest of your meeting, but I got 2 kids to take care of. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ben. Alright, so we're gonna hop back up to, let's discuss the on hold for the planning board.
Okay.
I don't think there's any movement on any of these, except there was a planning board meeting on the 10th, what day was it?
Yes.
The 10th? And they
No.
had, they were talking about the sludge ordinances and the sludge management. They had a presentation from Casella Organics, who's in the Unity area, and they do composting. They take in the biosolids and they do composting and turn it into compost, to put out for landscaping and whatnot. So they did a presentation. I gave Steve Seekin some contact for MOFGA to talk, to see if they would come talk about sludge and sludge management and land application. They said, the representative that he talked to said that, you know, they don't regulate any of it, they just don't allow it. You know, so they don't regulate it, and they didn't feel like they had anything to contribute to that. I called them and I said, if anybody should be interested in this thing, we should. And I talked by email to the director of Ag Services, and he is actually recovering from a knee injury, and he lives in Portland, so he's not traveling very far these days anyway. So I'm gonna see if I can find somebody else in the Unity office that's a little bit closer that can come and talk about maybe the reasons why it's not allowed in the NLP, which is the National Organic Plan for Land Management, or in our organic farms and stuff.
So I would think there probably is somebody there that can talk about that.
I would hope so. I mean, they do a lot of public policy type stuff, and if they don't have anybody available, then maybe the natural resources conservation people would be able to do that. But I feel like we need to have a lot of information, and that Casella, they made a good argument for why it should be allowed, and they talk a lot about the processes that they go through in the testing of the materials before they receive it, and then after, before it's applied anywhere. So I just think that there should be a balance of information for that. And they did form a small working committee to work on that as well. And they talked about signs after that, not the temporary signs though. I didn't stay for the whole meeting. My ride left and I needed to go. My ride was not up for staying for the whole meeting, so I had to go.
So I think that by temporary signs is how this started out, that they wanted to look at those anyway, and then Chimbro came in with some signs that they would like to put out for directional, which they tried to fit under temporary signs, so that's how that came all about, which did not work. These signs would be very good, but they're huge and they don't fit within the ordinance. So the planning board is going to go tour the areas where they want to put the signs, and obviously if they're considered as directional signs or certain types of signs under temporary ones, then they can put them on their own property if you can fit them in a category, but most of them are in the right of way of state and local roads, so they cannot fit into the categories. So they may want to, because these would be good. The trucks wander around, they can't see the signs. This would help Innovative Specialties that, is desperate to have all of their companies go down the Industrial Park Road onto Perillo Drive and not drive down the right-of-way business court, because it's smashing the road up with all the huge trucks and everything. And that's a road shared by everyone. Nobody owns it, including the town. We all have a right-of-way deed to it. And so at some point, it's going to have to get fixed up, and they do not want the trucks on there, but they go up there because that's where the GPS sends them.
Can we put signage up from the town, like no vehicles over X gross weight? I mean, they do that for bridges and...
We'd have to have a...
Not that they always pay attention to them.
It would have to be approved by ordinance.
Well,
well, here we are. Bring us some signs.
Put that on our agenda for next time.
Okay.
Yeah, we could, that seems like a pretty simple fix on that.
Yeah,
but there's no guarantee that they don't see the sign when they turn on the road either, so.
Yeah.
They have really tried, but it's come to the conclusion that, this is just not working here by sending out something to all of your contractors, telling them to go one certain way, because
it's truck drivers.
It doesn't get to the truck drivers, and so then they go down the same way, which is damaging a right-of-way. And so the whole sign ordinance should be looked at anyway. These would be good signs that would be helpful.
So the temporary signs are those they call them feathers, and we're going to allow them?
That's how this all started out. It was this. Then they tried to fit the Chimbro signs in there, and that didn't work. So I just did change the name.
Yeah, this started from down at the Family Dollar.
Yes.
Like they zip tied stuff to the bottom of their post sign. And
So what Steve has done is, if they're not in the way and they're just there for a while, he's just left them there. But you've got some places that are just getting too many of them, kind of cluttered. But, we want people to use the facilities, and you want to be reasonable, but, if somebody has 5 of these out there, it's kind of a distraction.
Yeah. Okay. So right now we don't have anything coming to us from the planning board. They're still working on.
And it may be a
tiny
while.
house.
I was told the tiny houses would be several months. So I have talked to Steve about this.
It's such a little issue. Why is it taking
I
so
talked-
much time?
I talked to the planning board chair also. Well, I talked to him several times, and of course, as you know, he's very concerned about bringing people to town, and so I've reminded him of the recommendation from the Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation when we went to the planning meeting and at the council meetings, that the planning board can actually do that. They can bring people to town by looking at their subdivision ordinance, which is so strict that nobody has built a subdivision here the whole time I've been here. They can look at the zoning of the community to see how we can add a few lots to the commercial industrial area that would not impact the neighborhoods, because we're out of industrial property, with the exception of a couple of lots that are really wet, or it has a big sand pit in it. And how they could look at the zoning and see how they could entice, subdivisions or cluster housing to come. And that's how you'll get more people. And so the last meeting I had with him was, I talked to him this week, and he did leave thinking about it, because I told him about what happened with the census when I was in Herman, and how the census figures really affect how much money we get in certain categories, and that this is how we get more grant money and everything. And so, he loved thinking about it.
Good. It's a good thought.
So we may be getting quite a few things from the planning board.
One of the things that came up in the planning board meeting too was the combined, remember they talked about having a combined meeting between the council and the planning board.
Yes.
And I thought we tentatively set that for the 25th, although I don't see it on the
The
schedule.
25th is our executive session.
Ah, that's why.
Yeah, Jan asked me about that. He's like, oh, we still have the 25th. I was like, there's a meeting on the 25th, but it's not with you. So we need to come up with another date
Gotcha.
for that.
Okay.
And I had hoped to do that the other night at the meeting, but we have, 2 of our 6 missing, so.
Yeah.
And so that people watching the discussion on the planning board and the town council, some people sort of got the impression that we were going to meet, and they suggested that you go down to the theater and that you be on the theater stage, and then people can ask you questions. And so I've explained out that's not the purpose of the meeting. That might be the purpose of a presentation further down. But the first meeting would be for the 2 groups to get
Just a
together
workshop.
It's a
in a
workshop.
workshop session.
Yeah.
An audience can come and they'll be on TV, but it's mostly for the 2 boards just to talk about things
Yeah.
and figure out really what they want to talk about and work on. So they couldn't answer any questions because they don't know what they're going to be doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would be more like an open forum
At the
type
end,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
at the end.
Yeah.
And using the theater would be a good idea.
It would, yeah. Let's see, so all that's left here is social media. And that's we kind of draft here. And is this one that you conglomerated from the other
Yes, I
items?
took pieces from
Bits
different
and
ones.
pieces together. So,
I took what I thought, most of them talked about all the things that couldn't be done, because, let's say, you all would be fine, but there have been cases across the state of Maine where people have done some wacko things, and so you could get somebody that might do things that would be damaging to the town. So I tried to figure out how we could incorporate that language, so I did that. And I thought it's good to talk about the benefits and risks. That was in one of them, that was good. And then the user's responsibility, who it covers, and just some things that somebody might get on and not know how to use Facebook and think that, wow, it would be great to do this, and not understand that there's certain things you shouldn't do. And it has in here, if you're going to do it, that you would set up a separate account. So I tried to pick out the things that I thought would be helpful for safety of the counselors too.
so I had a question about number 4. Who can use social media? It says the town administration would be in charge of any social media sites set up for the council as a corporate body.
Yeah,
So that's if we wanted to have a town council of Pittsfield
Yes.
Like a
site.
page.
Yes.
Hmm?
Like a page.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you wanted to have your own website, or you wanted to be part of the town's website or Facebook page, yes.
Right.
That's it, like an official one that was all of you all. But your own is your own, your own.
Right, right. And so that, if that were the case, that would just be where we would post notices. I'm just thinking, it's still really hard to find the agendas and council information
Jeez, it's so easy.
on the website. If you know to look at, what is it called?
Events.
The top button to find the council. It's GOV', it's government. You click on that, and to me, government, I think of like the federal government. I don't think of government as being You know, it doesn't just, it's not just like a button that says council on the website. It's,
So we get all the
So there's-
agendas and everything from
it is-
events, and then you go to the calendar, and then
Right.
you get the day, and then everybody's there, and you get all their agendas and.
yeah, if you wanna find, like, I was looking for a telephone number for one of the counselors the other day. And so I had a heck of a time hunting down that page, and I'm like,
Yeah,
you
the
know, it's
pages
here
all got
somewhere.
moved around, and then the reorganization. I don't like how some things are set up. I don't think it's set up good for the businesses on there to go on. If somebody's looking for a site, I don't think it's set up the way it should be to draw them in anymore.
Yeah, and we had talked about that in the communications committee meeting before, and we're kind of stuck with the format we have, you know, as far as what it looks like and everything. But I think there have been drastic improvements on that. But that's another whole discussion about the website and stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify what that type of website would be, because like the town has a town website, or it has a town website and there's a town Facebook page for the town. So I don't think we need a separate one
No.
for the council,
No.
but I think that we could put more of the council materials and announcements and things on the Facebook as well.
The town.
I don't know, the town Facebook, yeah. And I don't know.
Oh, we could do a lot more. That's where.
Do we have like who, are you doing all those postings yourself?
We
or
don't,
do we have a
we don't
design-
have anybody else with time to do it, so, I did it when I had time, but, since we started the budget process, I just put certain items on, and then, with all of the admin of the malfunctions and the
Yeah.
financial processing there, and when we put Moses in, thinking we were going to the next step for the web-based, there's a total malfunction going on here. It's even mind-boggling to me. So I just haven't done some of the other, you know, nice things like work on the Facebook page. That finances are more important.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is pretty common sense though, like where possible, if you're claiming that you're a counselor, that you, or you disclose that you're a counselor on your personal page, that you say these are my views and not the views of the council.
Right, and we did have a counselor that did say it was the council view on their page, so, in the past, so, you know, some people just need some help understanding how to do things, so it's written like that. No, I don't think any of the people that are interested in doing this now would do any of these things, but in the future, we could have somebody that didn't understand, you know, how they should protect themselves and protect the town.
Well, social media is here to stay, I'd say, for a while. It's been here for, what, 10, 12 years, so it'd be good to have something on file for
Yes.
the future.
Yeah, we should have.
I just thought we should have, I kind of opened the can of worms, so. I thought we should have something, because I kind of liked when you did the survey for the theater. And I thought that maybe we should have an avenue to do something like that, but then we also ought to have some kind of written policy somewhere.
Well, that would, well, you know, even through the town Facebook page, you can do surveys and questions, and they can just be like one little question, like,
Yeah.
Do you like our new sign that's
do
green?
you like our new
instead of
sign,
blue?
you know, how does everybody like the snow plowing this week, you know?
No, we won't be doing that. We won't have a highway department.
All right, we won't put that on, but you know, they can be just like, and that, the other thing that does is it engages people.
Yeah.
You know, it gets them
Well, it's
thinking
easier because
about-
I can sit down at 10 o'clock at night when
Okay.
I'm thumbing through my whatever
Yep.
emails, and I can say, oh yeah, there was a survey, I can go take a quick look at
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah, and it keeps it refreshed in the social media world too. When there's a lot of activity on things, it will naturally be picked up by the programs, and it will pop up in your feed more often if there's more activity and you are
Yeah.
a person that likes that. It will pop up more often.
Yeah. I just
So-
thought it was an avenue to get more input than, because we don't have a lot of people that come, and when there's certain issues that are big issues, then we get a lot of people that come.
Yeah.
And a lot of them with misunderstandings, whereas if we could have something
Yes.
just to project that.
Yeah.
Yes, we've had, Matt has clarified some items on Facebook before. Yeah, it's hard when it gets away from you if you can do it ahead of time or on something official.
Yeah.
It works out good instead of having to answer something that you see.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it has many good qualities. And I will start up the Facebook again But I've got to, now that this has been turned over to me, because I have to work on it, I've got to go through every entry and straighten out what went on with the computer system. Michael had upgraded the Windows 7 to 10, and then there was a major malfunction after that, so we took it out. And then he had put the Moses interface on, and that was a big malfunction. And Trio's helping us straighten it out, but the monies did not go to the accounts they're supposed to, so I'm working on that now. And I will get it straightened out, because we said I can't reconcile anything, but this is kind of mind-boggling here. So it's just taking me a while to work on it. Then we'll do Facebook, which was fun when I did it.
Any other concerns about the policies as written or anything? I mean, I think most of this is just kind of boilerplate type stuff.
It is.
And if there isn't anything.
I guess it'd be good if somebody does something like totally wild on Facebook or whatever, this would at least have like some backing, so we would like, hey, we had this.
We have a policy.
Yeah, we have this
is what we
policy.
can say. If
Yeah.
somebody does something,
Yeah.
we have a policy and that does not follow the guidelines of the policy.
Because we could have
It's the policy.
50 councils do a great job and one will do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we want to recommend that this go to the board, or do we want to hold on to this and wait for the rec committee to be finished and then send them both together?
I think we can do that together, and I was hoping to do the, all the changes with the titles and everything too. Because this would all be chapter 2, so we'd reorganize the whole thing. This is not in code language yet, I figured it was just easier to read it like this. And
Does it need to be in code, or can it be a policy that we have? And in our code book, it says that town councilors shall conduct, like we have a section about conducting ourselves within the meeting and behavior that's acceptable. Can it also just, we add a line and say that, you know, that counselors will follow the social media policy? Because social media is something that changes so much so quickly. I mean, you look at all the new ones that are coming up all the time. I mean, there's a lot more than the ones that are listed here that, and there could be something else that comes along in 2 years' time. You're not going to know what that is, and we might need to have this be a policy that's a little more flexible than in the code book that we have to have an ordinance change. Do you know what I mean?
It won't be as enforceable if it's not in the code book, but let me check on that with the MMA.
I'm just thinking that
This could be an MMA question.
it's going to change so much. You know, it's already, the way Facebook works and stuff has already changed so much. I mean, nobody even knows what MySpace is, and that was only in 1995 or something like that.
So that is why I said in any similar sites,
Yeah.
which develop after the creation of the policy, because it could be, there will be other things. So let me check to see if it should go into the code book or if it can be left as a policy. I just listed it as, you know, looking at it, it's as social media use. We may want to reduce it a bit. And it does have a lot of empty space here, so it won't take up that much. The print is larger, because I have to use larger print. The print is larger than what's in the code book too, so it actually won't be 4 pages once we put it in there.
Right.
So I'll ask a question on that to MMA Legal. Code or policy?
That was my only concern, was that, you know, it needs to be flexible enough for whatever's coming our way for the rest of this kind of stuff. So we'll have, so we should have the chapter 2, the social media.
I thought if we could do all chapter 2 things at once, that would actually work, and then all these other items will come along.
Okay.
The sludge and I think the sludge and the sewer will just take longer.
Yeah, and the pesticide one I think is going to take a little while too.
That
because
one's the complicated
I think
one.
that along with the sludge is something that we should you know, have speakers come in and give presentations to. And maybe, and I don't know, because it's land use policy, if the planning board needs to be involved in that too or not. I think they have their plates full with what they're dealing with.
I'll check the language in the code on which ordinances the planning board
That's
is
my next
involved with.
question.
There's language in some of them, which is why they're involved, and of course they're land use things, so we would have to be involved
Right.
anyway.
And this is not like broad land use, it's more like management type
Mhm.
for, because it's not the entire town, it's just the properties that the town property,
Mhm.
town owns.
So I did point out to the planning board chair and the code officer before their meeting, the sludge ordinance has the town council in there as managing the ordinance. That really doesn't seem appropriate. It should be the planning board because this still is, you know, a land use. And so I just suggested perhaps they want to look at that this would be one of their ordinances to
Mhm.
enforce.
So that would be a change that could be made at the time that this is being done.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Do we have anything else tonight aside from setting our next meeting date?
I don't,
All right, when do we want to meet again? Catherine, what's the timeline look like on your end of things as far as, the language development for the chapter 2 and the record department stuff?
I'd like to think that these could all be done for the March 3rd meeting, but that would mean that, to do that, they would all have to be finalized with the ordinance committee approving them on February 26th, and that's not gonna happen.
Why don't we shoot for bringing it to the council on the 17th?
So the 17th would require that we have it approved by the 11th.
That gives plenty of time, it's almost 3 weeks.
Yeah. So your meeting would have to be before the 11th.
Do we want to keep it on Thursday?
Yeah.
We have a finance committee meeting that evening, at 6:30, right?
6:30 on
Yes.
March
Mhm.
5th.
On March 5th, we have a finance committee meeting.
Yeah.
We used to have them in the afternoon, but people's schedules changed, so, it's an evening meeting now. We could meet at 5:30 beforehand, or we could meet on, we already have a meeting on Wednesday because of the election the day before.
Right.
If we're gonna meet just to approve the changes, in order to set it to public hearing,
All right, let me think.
or to set it to the council, and we have the changes ahead of time, we could have a short meeting before the council meeting. Oops. Didn't go pick up dinner.
All right, let's think this out. The council meeting was going to be on the 4th, but one of the members couldn't come.
Oh,
Or
did
two
we
couldn't
move
come,
it?
so it went to the 5th.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
that's what's on
Which
the 5th.
balances the finance committee and anybody else doing anything.
Alright.
Unless you want to put it back on the 4th.
Alright, so what is on the 5th? Is that finance committee?
Council meeting.
that's our
That's
council
the
meeting.
actual
Council
council
meeting,
meeting,
yes.
okay.
The
Is
finance
it the 12th? The 12th is the finance committee meeting.
Yeah, the 12th.
I thought that it was, and then April was the 2nd.
I think I just threw in like generic town council on my calendar.
You just put it on every day.
I just put it on every day. So do we wanna meet a few minutes before the March 5th? Maybe at 5:30?
Are we gonna have enough time to review everything we need to? We're just gonna need to review the finalized drafts of the recreational.
Well, you have a recreation, social
Chapter
media, and then
2.
all the other ordinance changes for the names. So I don't think so because of the work I have to do on the finance part.
About the 10th.
Yeah, the 10th would work.
It You could. Mhm.
That gives a little more time, but it
Yes.
still meets the.
That would
week
give me
before
another
deadline.
weekend, so I'd be all
Mhm.
set.
I may or may not need to make the 10th, depending on my other town from planning board.
Mhm.
It's usually on the second Tuesday.
Mhm. How's the 11th?
That's fine.
Does the 11th work? Wednesday?
Yeah, it'd be a short one, right?
Yes.
Because we just need to do food.
Yeah, we can set it for the best
Friday
time
or
for all of
Wednesday
you. Is the best time like at 5:30 or 6:30? You gotta get out of work.
I can do either.
I could do 5:30.
Yeah, I can do 5:30,
Okay.
as long as I write it down.
Alright, so.
March 11th, 5:30.
Wednesday, March 11th, 5:30. Yes, that'll work good. That gives me an extra weekend, so I'm all set there.
5:30. And I'll be short. Because we'll just be reviewing materials and then approving to send it to the council.
And then that meets all deadlines, so it can go on the 17th. So that'd be good.
So that's okay, that's not too late in the day.
No, that's fine.
And then we have so then the 12th is the finance committee.
Because what I will do is submit it all and do the agenda sheets, and it'll all be there. And then if you tweaked it a little bit, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, because we can make minor changes.
You can make minor things.
Okay, so the next ordinance committee meeting is going to be March 11th at 5:30,
Right here,
right here.
just for the TV people.
Yes.
So we have another huge audience like we did tonight.
Yes. Okay, so we're good with that. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Fantastic. We are adjourned. Perfect. Pick up here. We're having a meeting tonight.